Ladies and gentlemen, life is full of crossroads, and sometimes we question if we're walking in the direction God has ordained for us. But let me assure you, God never leaves His people wandering without a sign. He is always speaking. The question is, are we listening? When you're aligned with God's purpose, there is a deep sense of peace within you, even when things around you seem uncertain. It's a peace that surpasses all understanding, a stillness in your spirit that reassures you, even when circumstances are chaotic. You may not have all the answers, and you may not see the full picture, but there is something inside of you that tells you that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. That peace is not accidental. It's not something that comes from the world. It's something that only God can give. It's His way of whispering to your soul, keep going, I am with you. There are times in life when we expect peace to come from external validation. We think that if everything is working out according to our plans, we will feel secure. But true peace doesn't work that way. True peace is when you can stand in the middle of a storm and still have confidence. It's when everything around you seems to be falling apart, but inside you feel a sense of calm that you can't explain. That's how you know God is with you. When you are on the right path, He places peace inside of you as a confirmation. Even when people doubt you, even when you face delays, even when things don't go exactly how you imagine, you still know deep within your spirit that you're walking in the right direction. That peace is what allows you to take steps of faith. It's what keeps you moving forward, even when the road ahead is unclear. You may not have all the details figured out, but you have an assurance that God does. The world may call it intuition, but as believers, we recognize it as the Holy Spirit guiding us. It's that quiet voice that tells you to trust, to be patient, to keep believing even when logic says otherwise. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to force it. It's simply there, unshaken by your external circumstances. Think about moments in your life when you had to make a big decision. Maybe you had two paths before you, and one seemed more practical, more logical, yet something inside of you nudged you in a different direction. That gentle nudge, that sense of peace, was God directing your steps. He doesn't always speak through loud, dramatic signs. More often than not, He speaks through peace. When you are walking in obedience, when you are aligned with His will, you don't feel the need to constantly question or second guess. You move forward with confidence, knowing that He has gone before you. But what happens when you don't feel peace? That's something you should pay attention to. When you're about to make a decision and you feel restless, anxious, or uneasy, that's often a warning sign. It's God's way of saying, this is not for you. Sometimes we try to ignore that feeling. We convince ourselves that we should push through anyway, that we should force things to happen because we want them so badly. But the absence of peace is a message in itself. If you have to strive, force, or manipulate things to work in your favor, it's worth stepping back and asking, is this really where God wants me to be? God's peace is never found in desperation. It's never found in situations where you feel like you have to chase after something that isn't naturally aligning. That doesn't mean the right path will always be easy. Sometimes it requires faith, endurance, and patience. But even in the waiting, there is peace. Even in the uncertainty, there is assurance. That's how you know you're on the right path. It's not about everything going perfectly. It's about having that unshakable confidence that God is ordering your steps. One of the greatest examples of this is Jesus Himself. Before He went to the cross, He prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. He knew what was coming. He knew the suffering He would endure. And yet, despite the weight of what was ahead, He had peace. He didn't resist God's will. He didn't run from it. He surrendered. That's the kind of peace that comes when you are aligned with your purpose. It doesn't mean there won't be hardship. It doesn't mean there won't be moments of testing, but it does mean that you will have the inner strength to endure because you know that God is with you. So if you're walking a path that seems uncertain, but deep down you feel peace, trust it. That peace is your confirmation. It's a sign that you don't have to worry. You don't have to figure everything out on your own because God is guiding you. The world may try to shake you. Distractions may try to pull you off course. But if you hold on to that peace, you will not be moved. You will be exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what God has called you to do. And in the end, you will look back and realize that every step, even the ones that didn't make sense at the time, were divinely orchestrated. You are on the right path. Keep walking in faith. When you are walking in alignment with God's plan, doors begin to open at just the right time. You may have been waiting, praying, and wondering when things will shift in your favor, and then seemingly out of nowhere, opportunities present themselves. But these moments are not coincidences. They are divine orchestrations, carefully timed by God to bring you closer to your purpose. When God opens a door, no one can shut it, and when He closes a door, it's because He has something better in store. There is something incredible about the way God works. He is never early, never late. He is always on time. Sometimes we want things to happen faster. We get impatient, wondering why things aren't moving at the pace we desire. But God's timing is perfect. He knows when you are ready, and He knows when the situation is ready for you. The opportunities that come from Him are not rushed, forced, or manipulated. They come naturally without striving. You don't have to beg for them, chase them, or stress over them. They flow into your life in a way that feels right. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to force doors open before it's time. They push, they strive, they try to manipulate situations to work in their favor. But when you try to open a door that God hasn't unlocked, you will find yourself exhausted and frustrated. That's because it wasn't meant to be opened, at least not yet. But when the right opportunity comes, you won't have to fight for it. It will align so smoothly that you'll look back and realize that God was behind it all along. Think about the moments in your life when something just fell into place effortlessly. Maybe you met the right person at the right time, or a job opportunity came out of nowhere, or you were led to a place you never expected but later realized it was exactly where you needed to be. That's how God works. He aligns circumstances, connects people, and creates opportunities that you couldn't have orchestrated on your own. But here's the key. Just as God opens doors, He also closes them. And that is just as much a blessing. Sometimes we get frustrated when a door shuts in our face. Maybe it was a relationship, a business venture, or a goal we were pursuing. We feel discouraged, wondering why things didn't work out. But what if that closed door was actually a form of protection? What if God was saying, I have something better for you? God sees what we cannot see. He knows the road ahead. There are times when we think we need something, but in reality, it would have led us away from our true calling. So instead of being upset when a door closes, trust that God is redirecting you to something greater. Every closed door is a step closer to the right one. Every delay is part of His perfect plan. This is why discernment is so important. Not every opportunity is from God. Just because something looks good doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. That's why prayer is essential. When you seek God's guidance, He will give you clarity. He will show you which doors to walk through and which ones to leave behind. Sometimes God allows us to wait before He opens a door because He is preparing us. There's a process of growth that happens in the waiting. You may feel like nothing is happening, but in reality, God is strengthening your character, building your faith, and equipping you for what's coming. If He gave you the opportunity too soon, you might not be ready for it. But when the time is right, everything will align perfectly. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams of greatness. But before he reached his destiny, he went through years of hardship. He was betrayed, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. From the outside, it may have looked like he was moving further away from his purpose. But in reality, every experience was preparing him for what God had planned. Then, at just the right time, the doors opened. He was elevated from the prison to the palace in a single day. That's how quickly God can turn things around when the time is right. So if you are in a season where you are waiting for doors to open, don't get discouraged. Keep trusting. Keep preparing. Keep being faithful where you are. God has not forgotten you. He is working behind the scenes, arranging things in your favor. When the right door opens, you will see why everything happened the way it did. And when you do walk through that door, remember to give God the glory. Remember that it was His hand that guided you, His favor that opened the opportunity, and His grace that carried you through the waiting season. Don't take credit for it. Stay humble, stay grateful, because when you acknowledge that every good thing comes from Him, He will continue to lead you to even greater places. If you find yourself standing in front of an open door today, step through it with confidence. If you find yourself in front of a closed door, trust that God has something better. Either way, you are exactly where you need to be, and God is leading you every step of the way. There are moments in life when you find yourself experiencing an unusual sense of peace, even in the midst of chaos. It is a peace that doesn't come from external circumstances, but from within. This peace is not something you can explain logically, because by all accounts you should be stressed, anxious, or worried. Yet there is a stillness in your heart, a quiet assurance that everything will work out as it should. That peace is not a coincidence. It is a divine confirmation that you are on the right path. God's peace surpasses all understanding. It is not dependent on whether things are going well or whether all the pieces have fallen into place. In fact, this peace often shows up in the most unexpected situations, when you are stepping out in faith, when you are taking a risk, or when you are in the middle of an uncertain transition. The world may be saying you should be afraid, but your heart tells you everything is okay. That is the kind of peace only God can give. Many people live in constant turmoil, always anxious about the future, second-guessing their decisions and doubting whether they are moving in the right direction. But when God is leading you, there is a sense of inner calm. It doesn't mean that everything will be easy or that you won't have obstacles, but even in the difficulties, you will feel an unshakable certainty that you are exactly where you need to be. This peace is different from the temporary comfort that comes from worldly security. Some people feel at ease only when their bank account is full, when their relationships are going well, or when everything is predictable. But the peace that God gives is present even when things don't make sense. You can be walking into an unfamiliar situation, taking a step into the unknown, and still feel completely at peace, because you know God is with you. One of the greatest examples of this kind of peace can be found in the life of Jesus. In the middle of a storm, while the disciples were panicking, Jesus was asleep in the boat. The storm was raging, the waves were crashing, but He was resting. Why? Because He had complete trust in God. That is the kind of peace God wants to give you. The ability to remain calm when life is unpredictable, to trust when things seem uncertain, and to move forward without fear. When you are walking in alignment with God's will, you don't have to force things to happen. You don't have to manipulate circumstances or strive endlessly to control everything around you. Instead, you move with grace, trusting that what is meant for you will come at the right time. Even if others try to discourage you, even if things don't happen as quickly as you expected, you will still have peace, knowing that you are in God's hands. There are times when you may not fully understand why certain things are happening, but your spirit feels at rest. You may not have all the answers, but you don't feel the need to fight or resist. That is because God's peace is guiding you. This peace acts as a compass, steering you away from distractions and keeping you focused on what truly matters. It allows you to let go of the need for approval from others because you are secure in knowing that you are following God's plan. The enemy will try to bring confusion and doubt into your life. He will attempt to make you question whether you are making the right decisions. He will create distractions to pull you away from your purpose. But when you are on the right path, God's peace will drown out the noise. Even when people misunderstand you, even when the road is difficult, you will not be shaken because you know that God's hand is upon you. One of the ways you can recognize this peace is by paying attention to how your heart responds to certain situations. When you are about to make a decision, do you feel restless, uneasy, or uncertain? That may be a sign that something is not aligned with God's plan. But when you feel a deep sense of peace, even if the decision requires faith, that is often a confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. This peace also helps you release control. Instead of trying to force things to happen in your own strength, you trust in God's timing. You don't have to rush, stress, or strive because you know that what God has planned for you will not pass you by. Even in seasons of waiting, you can rest in the assurance that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. When you are in God's will, you live in constant worry about the future. You don't have to chase after things that were never meant for you. You don't have to live in fear of making mistakes because you trust that even if you take a wrong turn, God will redirect your steps. His peace will guide you back to where you need to be. And so, if you find yourself experiencing this unexplainable peace, even when life is uncertain, take it as a sign God is confirming that you are exactly where He wants you to be. Trust that He is leading you, that He is working behind the scenes, and that everything will fall into place in His perfect timing. No matter what comes your way, hold on to that peace and keep moving forward, knowing that God is with you every step of the way. There comes a point in your journey when doors begin to open effortlessly. It is as if the universe, or more precisely God, is arranging circumstances in your favor. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach suddenly become accessible. The right people come into your life at the right time, and situations align in ways you could never have orchestrated on your own. This is not a coincidence. It is a sign that God is directing your steps and confirming that you are on the right path. When you are moving in alignment with God's purpose, you don't have to force things to happen. You don't have to manipulate situations or chase after opportunities that were never meant for you. Instead, doors open naturally and things fall into place with a sense of divine timing. This does not mean that you won't have to put in effort, but rather your effort will be met with favor. You will notice that certain opportunities seem tailor-made for you, and when you step into them, everything flows effortlessly. Sometimes people spend years trying to force doors open, knocking and pushing only to be met with resistance. They exhaust themselves trying to make things happen in their own strength, but nothing works out. But when you are in the right place, following God's plan, you won't have to fight so hard. What is meant for you will not require you to compromise your values, beg for approval, or strive endlessly. God's favor will make a way where there was no way. This is the beauty of walking in purpose. You may have experienced seasons where every step felt like a struggle, where nothing seemed to work out no matter how hard you tried. But when you shift into the right path, you will notice that things become easier. This does not mean there won't be challenges, but you will feel as though you are being carried by an unseen force, lifting you above obstacles and clearing a path before you. When God opens a door, no one can shut it. It doesn't matter if people doubt you, if others try to block your progress, or if circumstances seem unfavorable. If it is a door that God has opened for you, it will remain open. You don't have to fear losing what God has given you because His blessings are secure. He does not give and then take away without purpose. When He opens a door, it is because He has prepared you for it and prepared it for you. This is why it is so important to trust in divine timing. Sometimes a door remains closed because it is not the right time. You may have prayed for an opportunity, worked hard, and done everything in your power, yet the door remains shut. This can be frustrating, but it is often a sign that God is protecting you. He sees what you cannot see. He knows what lies ahead. If a door is not opening, it may be because stepping through it too soon would bring unnecessary struggles or distraction. But when the time is right, nothing will be able to keep that door closed. One of the clearest ways to recognize that you are on the right path is when doors open without unnecessary struggle. When you step into an opportunity and everything aligns smoothly, it is a confirmation that you are exactly where you need to be. You will feel a sense of ease, not because the journey is without effort, but because you are in the flow of God's plan. This is why it is important to pay attention to how things unfold in your life. If you constantly feel like you are forcing something to happen, if you are exhausted from striving and nothing seems to work, it may be time to step back and ask God if you are on the right path. Sometimes a closed door is a blessing in disguise. It is God's way of redirecting you toward something better. When doors open effortlessly, it is a sign of alignment. You don't have to compromise your integrity, abandon your values, or fight endlessly to hold on to something that is not meant for you. What God has for you will be yours. You don't have to chase after it. It will come to you at the right time. There is a difference between persistence and forcing something that is not meant to be. Yes, there are times when you must work hard and push through difficulties, but there is also a wisdom in recognizing when you are trying to open a door that God has deliberately kept closed. When you are on the right path, you will find that certain doors open at just the right moment, and when they do, everything flows naturally. This does not mean there won't be challenges along the way. Even when you are walking in your purpose, you will still face obstacles. But the difference is that these obstacles will not block you indefinitely. They may slow you down, but they will not stop you. When God is leading the way, He will remove barriers in His perfect timing. And so if you find yourself stepping into opportunities that seem almost too perfect, if you notice that the right people are appearing in your life, if situations are unfolding in a way that feels effortless, take it as a sign. God is guiding you. He is confirming that you are where you are meant to be. Trust in the doors He is opening and walk through them with confidence, knowing that He has prepared the way for you. There is a deep sense of peace that comes when you are walking in alignment with God's plan for your life. It is not just an absence of conflict or trouble, but an unshakable calm that stays with you even in the midst of challenges. This peace is not something that the world can give or take away. It is a divine confirmation that you are exactly where you are meant to be. When you are on the right path, you will notice that even when difficulties arise, there is an underlying assurance that everything will work out. You may not have all the answers, but you are not overwhelmed by fear or anxiety. Instead, there is a quiet confidence that God is leading you and that His plans for you are good. This peace is different from temporary happiness or external validation. It is not dependent on circumstances or other people's opinions. You may face opposition, unexpected obstacles, or seasons of waiting, but deep down, you know that you are in the right place. It is a kind of inner stillness, a knowing that you do not have to force anything or strive anxiously because God is in control. This peace is a gift a sign that you are following His will and that He is pleased with your steps. Many people live their lives in a constant state of worry and confusion. They are always searching, always doubting, always second-guessing their decisions. But when you are in alignment with God's plan, you don't feel that same inner turmoil. Even if the path ahead is unclear, you trust that He is guiding you. You don't have to have all the details because you are anchored in faith. You may not see the full picture, but you know you are heading in the right direction. This peace is not something you can manufacture on your own. It is not a result of positive thinking or self-reassurance. It comes from God Himself. It is a supernatural calm that settles into your heart, assuring you that no matter what happens, you are safe in His hands. It is what allows you to rest at night without worry, to make decisions without fear, and to move forward with confidence, even when the future is uncertain. There will be moments when external circumstances try to shake this peace. You may face setbacks, unexpected detours, or seasons of difficulty. But even then, if you are on the right path, that inner peace will remain. It will act as an anchor, keeping you steady when everything else seems uncertain. You may feel discouraged at times, but you will not be completely lost. God's peace will remind you that He is still in control, that He is still working behind the scenes, and that every delay or challenge has a purpose. Some people mistake peace for a lack of problems, but that is not how it works. Even when you are following God's will, you will still encounter difficulties. But the difference is that these challenges will not rob you of your sense of stability. You will not feel panicked or hopeless. Instead, you will have an assurance that even in the storm, you are being held by God. This is why Jesus was able to sleep in the boat while the storm raged around Him. He had peace that came from knowing He was exactly where He was supposed to be. When you are not on the right path, the opposite is true. You may experience constant unease, confusion, or a feeling of being unsettled. No matter how much you try to convince yourself that everything is fine, something inside of you feels off. It is like a nagging sense that you are in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing. You may try to silence it with distractions or logic, but deep down, you know something isn't right. That lack of peace is often a sign that you need to reevaluate your direction. God's peace is one of the clearest indicators that you are moving in the right direction. It may not always make sense to others. People may question your choices. They may not understand why you are so confident in a path that seems uncertain. But you don't need their validation. The peace in your heart is enough. It is God's way of reassuring you that you are exactly where you need to be. This is why it is important to listen to that peace. If you are faced with a decision and you feel uneasy, take that as a sign. If an opportunity arises, but you don't feel peace about it, trust that feeling. God will never lead you in a direction that requires you to abandon your peace. On the other hand, if you step into something new and feel a deep sense of rightness, even if it is challenging, take that as a sign that you are walking in alignment with His will. The world may tell you to follow logic, to make choices based on what seems most practical or profitable, but God's way is different. He often leads His people in ways that don't make sense on paper. Yet when you follow Him, the peace you experience is all the confirmation you need. It is a reminder that even if you don't see the full picture yet, He does. And as long as He is leading you, you can walk forward with confidence, knowing that you are on the right path. There are moments in life when doors begin to open in ways you never expected. Opportunities arise that seem perfectly timed, almost as if they were placed there just for you. These are not mere coincidences. They are divine confirmations that you are on the right path. When God is guiding your steps, He orchestrates events in such a way that things begin to align in ways you could never have arranged on your own. You may have been striving for something for years, knocking on doors that remained shut, only to suddenly find that things are beginning to fall into place effortlessly. That is often a sign that God is working behind the scenes. He knows exactly when and how to position you for the opportunities that are meant for you. When you are following His plan, you will notice that things that once seemed impossible start to happen with surprising ease. The right people enter your life at the right time. The right connections are made without you forcing them. You find yourself in the right place at the right moment, and it all feels too perfectly timed to be a coincidence. When doors start opening, it does not mean that there won't be challenges along the way, but you will notice that the right opportunities will come with a sense of divine alignment. They won't require you to manipulate, beg, or force things to happen. You won't have to compromise your integrity or sacrifice your peace just to make them work. Instead, they will feel natural, as if God Himself is paving the way for you. This does not mean that every open door is from God. Sometimes distractions come disguised as opportunities. That is why discernment is so important. When God is truly leading you, the doors that open will bring peace, purpose, and a sense of rightness deep in your spirit. They won't leave you feeling unsettled or anxious. Instead, they will confirm that you are exactly where you need to be. Many people spend their lives chasing after opportunities, trying to force doors open that were never meant for them. They strive, they struggle, and they exhaust themselves trying to make things happen. But when God is the one opening doors, there is no need for relentless striving. There is effort, yes, but not stress. There is hard work, but not burnout. There is persistence, but not desperation. Sometimes God allows doors to remain closed for a season because He is protecting you. You may have wanted something so badly, but no matter what you did, it didn't work out. You may have questioned why certain opportunities slipped through your fingers. But later, you come to realize that those closed doors were actually a blessing. God was keeping you from stepping into something that was not meant for you or that would have harmed you in the long run. When you trust God's timing, you begin to see that delays are not denials. What seems like a setback is often just a setup for something better. At the right time, the right doors will open effortlessly. You won't have to fight your way in. You will simply walk through. When this happens, it is a sign that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. One of the most important things to remember is that open doors do not always look the way you expect them to. Sometimes they come in the form of unexpected opportunities, new relationships, or even challenges that push you toward growth. God's ways are higher than ours, and He often leads us in directions we would never have chosen for ourselves. But when we trust Him, we see that every door He opens is part of a greater plan. If you are experiencing doors opening in your life, take a moment to acknowledge that it is not just by chance. It is God's way of confirming that you are moving in the right direction. Stay faithful, stay obedient, and walk through those doors with confidence. You do not have to fear what is ahead, because if God is the one opening the door, He will also equip you for what is on the other side. On the other hand, if you are in a season where doors seem to be closing, do not be discouraged. Trust that God knows what He is doing. What is meant for you will not pass you by. If He is closing certain doors, it is because He has something better in store. Sometimes the greatest blessings come not from the doors that open, but from the ones that close. Walking in alignment with God's plan means learning to trust the doors He opens and the ones He shuts. It means letting go of frustration and embracing His perfect timing. The right opportunities will come at the right time, and when they do, you will know there will be a sense of divine alignment, a deep inner peace, and a confidence that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Keep moving forward, keep trusting, and when the right door opens, step through it boldly, knowing that God has prepared the way for you. There is a deep sense of peace that comes when you know you are walking in alignment with God's plan for your life. It is not a peace that comes from external circumstances, but a peace that surpasses all understanding. Even in the midst of uncertainty, challenges, and storms, there is an unshakable calm that settles within you, reassuring you that you are exactly where you need to be. This kind of peace is not something that can be manufactured or forced. It is a divine confirmation that God is guiding your steps. When you are on the right path, you may not always have clarity about what comes next, but you will have peace about where you are. It does not mean that everything will be easy or that you will not face difficulties. But even in the midst of trials, there will be an underlying sense of security, a deep knowing that you are moving in the right direction. You will find that no matter what happens, you are not easily shaken. You are not constantly second-guessing yourself, nor are you plagued by confusion or anxiety. Instead, there is a quiet confidence that reassures you that you are in the will of God. This peace does not mean the absence of hardship. There may still be obstacles in your way, people who misunderstand your journey, and moments of waiting that test your patience. But despite all of that, there is a stillness within you, a kind of inner stability that cannot be explained by logic alone. It is a peace that is not dependent on circumstances, but on trust. Trust in the fact that God is leading you. Trust in the fact that He knows what is best for you. Trust in the fact that His plan is unfolding exactly as it should. Many people live their lives in a constant state of worry and restlessness. They are always questioning their choices, always wondering if they are doing the right thing, always feeling unsettled about the path they are on. But when God is guiding you, He gives you peace as a sign. It is His way of letting you know that you do not need to strive so hard. You do not need to force things to happen, and you do not need to live in fear of making the wrong move. When you are on the right path, there is an assurance that even when things do not go according to your plans, they are still going according to His. This peace also comes with a sense of alignment. You begin to notice that even when things do not happen exactly as you imagined, they are still working out in your favor. There is a flow to your life that was not there before. The right doors open, the wrong ones closed, and even in times of waiting, you do not feel lost or abandoned. There is a deep-rooted faith that carries you, an inner conviction that God is in control. One of the most powerful aspects of this peace is that it does not fade in the face of adversity. When challenges arise, you do not fall apart. Instead, you remain steady because you know that your foundation is not built on temporary circumstances, but on an eternal promise. You are not easily swayed by setbacks because you understand that God is working all things together for your good. If you find yourself constantly anxious, doubting, and lacking peace, it may be a sign that you need to realign with God's plan. His path for you is not one of confusion, but of clarity. It does not mean that every step will be clear, but it does mean that you will have peace in your spirit about where you are going. When something is not from God, it often brings a sense of unrest. No matter how much you try to convince yourself otherwise, deep down you feel uneasy. That is why paying attention to your inner peace is so important. God's peace is one of the greatest indicators that you are moving in the right direction. It is His way of confirming that you are where you are meant to be. It is not something that can be forced, and it is not something that can be faked. It is a supernatural gift, a sign that you are walking in His will. If you are experiencing this kind of peace, embrace it. Let it be your confirmation that you are on the right path. Keep moving forward with confidence, knowing that God is guiding you every step of the way. There are times in life when you feel an overwhelming sense of growth, a shift happening within you that is undeniable. You begin to see things differently, think differently, and even respond to situations in a way that surprises you. It is not something that happens overnight, but rather a gradual transformation, a refining process that molds you into the person you were always meant to be. This kind of growth is a strong sign that God is at work in your life, leading you in the right direction. Growth is not always comfortable. In fact, it often comes through challenges, trials, and moments of deep reflection. You may find yourself in situations that stretch you beyond your comfort zone, forcing you to rely on faith more than ever before. But instead of feeling defeated, you begin to recognize that these experiences are shaping you. The things that used to shake you no longer have the same power over you. You are learning patience, resilience, and wisdom in ways you never imagined. When you are on the right path, you notice that your priorities start to shift. The things that once consumed your time and energy no longer hold the same importance. You become more intentional with your choices, more mindful of the people you surround yourself with, and more aware of how your actions align with your purpose. You start valuing personal development over temporary pleasures, seeking wisdom over fleeting distractions, and pursuing things that bring long-term fulfillment rather than momentary satisfaction. Another sign of spiritual and personal growth is how you handle adversity. In the past, difficulties may have caused you to panic, react impulsively, or question your worth. But now, you face challenges with a different perspective. Instead of seeing obstacles as setbacks, you see them as opportunities for learning. You trust that every challenge has a lesson, every hardship has a purpose, and every delay is a part of God's divine timing. You are no longer controlled by fear, but instead you move forward with faith. You also begin to notice a change in how you interact with others. When you are growing, you develop a greater sense of compassion and understanding. You no longer hold on to bitterness or resentment. Instead, you extend grace to those who hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you have outgrown the need for revenge. You understand that forgiveness is not about excusing someone's behavior, but about freeing yourself from the weight of anger and pain. Personal growth also comes with a heightened sense of self-awareness. You start to recognize your own patterns, weaknesses, and strengths. You take responsibility for your actions instead of blaming others. You are willing to admit when you are wrong and make the necessary changes to improve. Growth requires humility, and when you are on the right path, you become more teachable, more open to correction, and more willing to learn from your experiences. You are no longer desperate for approval from people who do not understand your journey. You realize that your worth is not determined by opinions, likes, or recognition from others. Instead, your confidence comes from within, from knowing that you are following God's plan for your life. You find peace in being authentic, in walking your own path, even if it means walking alone for a season. When you are growing, you also become more disciplined. You no longer allow distractions to derail you from your purpose. You start setting boundaries, protecting your energy, and being more intentional with your time. Growth requires discipline, and when you are on the right path, you begin to cultivate habits that align with your goals. Whether it is deepening your spiritual life, improving your health, developing new skills, or strengthening your relationships, you take steps each day to become a better version of yourself. There is also a newfound sense of clarity that comes with growth. You begin to recognize what truly matters in life. You stop chasing after things that once seemed important, but ultimately left you feeling empty. Instead, you focus on things that bring meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. Your decisions become more aligned with your values, and you no longer settle for less than what you deserve. One of the most beautiful signs of growth is a deepening connection with God. You find yourself seeking Him more, relying on His guidance, and trusting Him in ways you never have before. You begin to understand that growth is not just about achieving success or reaching certain milestones. It is about becoming the person God created you to be. You start prioritizing your relationship with Him, spending more time in prayer and allowing His wisdom to shape your decisions. When you are on the right path, growth becomes a continuous journey. You do not remain stagnant, nor do you become complacent. Instead, you embrace the process, knowing that every step forward, no matter how small, is leading you closer to your purpose. Growth is not always easy, but it is always worth it. And when you look back, you will see just how far you have come, realizing that every challenge, every lesson, and every moment of discomfort was shaping you into who you were meant to be. When you are on the right path, you start to notice that things begin to align in ways you never expected. You meet the right people at the right time. Opportunities come your way that seem too perfect to be coincidences. And doors open effortlessly without you having to force them. It is not luck or random chance. It is divine alignment. God orchestrates the events in your life so that everything falls into place according to His perfect plan. Even when things do not happen exactly as you imagined, you begin to see that every step, every delay, and every unexpected turn was leading you to where you are meant to be. This alignment does not mean that you will never face obstacles or challenges. In fact, there may be moments when it feels like things are not working out. But even in those moments, there is an underlying sense that everything is happening for a reason. You begin to understand that setbacks are often setups for something greater. Closed doors or redirections, delays or moments of preparation, and what seems like rejection is often God protecting you from something that was not meant for you. When you are on the right path, you feel a deep sense of purpose in everything you do. You no longer operate aimlessly or waste time chasing after things that do not truly fulfill you. Instead, you are driven by a greater calling. You wake up each day with a sense of clarity, knowing that you are walking in alignment with what God has planned for you. Even when the journey is difficult, you do not feel lost. You have a vision for where you are going, and you trust that God is guiding your steps, even when you cannot see the entire path ahead. Another powerful sign of divine alignment is that you start to experience unexpected blessings. Sometimes these blessings come in small ways. A kind word from a stranger, an opportunity you never applied for, or an answer to a prayer you have been waiting on. Other times they come in the form of major breakthroughs, doors opening in ways that leave you in awe. These blessings are not just random. They are confirmations that you are where you are supposed to be. God rewards obedience. And when you align yourself with His will, He provides in ways that go beyond what you could have imagined. There is also a shift in your relationships when you are on the right path. People who no longer serve your purpose may drift away, and new people who align with your vision will enter your life. This is not always easy to accept. Letting go of certain friendships or relationships can be painful, but you begin to realize that not everyone is meant to walk with you in every season of your journey. Some people were only meant to be in your life for a short time to teach you lessons, and others are meant to stay and grow with you. When you are in alignment, you no longer cling to relationships out of fear or familiarity. Instead, you trust that God is bringing the right people into your life and removing the ones who are not meant to be there. Another sign of alignment is an increase in favor. Things that once seemed difficult suddenly become easier. You start receiving opportunities that you did not even ask for. People begin to recognize your work, your talent, and your purpose. This does not mean that you will never have to work hard, but you will notice that things begin to flow with less resistance. You no longer have to fight and struggle to make things happen because God is making a way for you. What used to take years to accomplish starts happening in a fraction of the time. This is not because of your own strength, but because you are aligned with the timing and will of God. You also experience a deeper sense of gratitude. When you are in alignment, you become more aware of the blessings around you. You stop taking things for granted and start appreciating even the small moments. You see God's hand in every detail of your life, from the people you meet to the unexpected detours that turned out to be blessings in disguise. Gratitude shifts your perspective, making you more content and more at peace with where you are. One of the greatest signs of divine alignment is that you experience internal peace, even when external circumstances are not perfect. The world may be chaotic, but you remain steady because you know that you are walking in the right direction. You no longer feel the need to control everything because you trust that God is handling it. This peace is not something that can be explained logically. It is something you feel deep in your soul. It reassures you that you are on the right path, even if you do not yet see the full picture. When you are aligned with God's plan, you start to notice that your intuition becomes sharper. You can discern when something is right for you and when it is not. You no longer entertain things that do not align with your purpose. You become more selective about where you invest your time and energy. You stop chasing after things that do not fulfill you and start moving toward things that bring you joy, growth, and spiritual fulfillment. Most importantly, when you are on the right path, you experience an unshakable faith. You stop worrying about the future because you know that God is already there. You stop doubting yourself because you know that He has equipped you with everything you need for this journey. You stop seeking approval from others because you know that you are already approved by Him. You move forward with confidence, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. And even when the road ahead is unclear, you trust that God is leading you towards something greater than you could ever imagine. When you are on the right path, you start to notice that things begin to align in ways you never expected. You meet the right people at the right time. Opportunities come your way that seem too perfect to be coincidences, and doors open effortlessly without you having to force them. It is not luck or random chance. It is divine alignment. God orchestrates the events in your life so that everything falls into place according to His perfect plan. Even when things do not happen exactly as you imagined, you begin to see that every step, every delay, and every unexpected turn was leading you to where you are meant to be. There is an invisible hand guiding you, shaping your journey, ensuring that every experience contributes to your growth and ultimate purpose. You start to realize that every detour, every moment of waiting, and even every disappointment had a reason. The things that once frustrated you now make sense because you understand that nothing happens by accident. This alignment does not mean that you will never face obstacles or challenges. In fact, there may be moments when it feels like things are not working out. But even in those moments, there is an underlying sense that everything is happening for a reason. You begin to understand that setbacks are often setups for something greater. Closed doors are redirections. Delays are moments of preparation. And what seems like rejection is often God protecting you from something that was not meant for you. You start to trust in His timing rather than your own. What once seemed like a frustrating roadblock now looks like divine intervention. You learn to let go of the need to control everything and instead surrender to the flow of life, understanding that what is truly meant for you will never pass you by. The battles that once drained you no longer shake you the same way because you now see them as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. You recognize that every difficulty is a test, shaping your character, strengthening your faith, and preparing you for the blessings ahead. When you are on the right path, you feel a deep sense of purpose in everything you do. You no longer operate aimlessly or waste time chasing after things that do not truly fulfill you. Instead, you are driven by a greater calling. You wake up each day with a sense of clarity, knowing that you are walking in alignment with what God has planned for you. Even when the journey is difficult, you do not feel lost. You have a vision for where you are going, and you trust that God is guiding your steps, even when you cannot see the entire path ahead. There is an unshakable conviction inside you that tells you to keep moving forward. The things that once distracted you no longer hold the same power over you. You become more focused, more disciplined, and more intentional with your time. You stop chasing after temporary gratification and instead invest in things that bring long-term fulfillment. You begin to value personal growth, wisdom, and inner peace more than external validation. Another powerful sign of divine alignment is that you start to experience unexpected blessings. Sometimes these blessings come in small ways. A kind word from a stranger, an opportunity you never applied for, or an answer to a prayer you have been waiting on. Other times they come in the form of major breakthroughs, doors opening in ways that leave you in awe. These blessings are not just random. They are confirmations that you are where you are supposed to be. God rewards obedience. And when you align yourself with His will, He provides in ways that go beyond what you could have imagined. You begin to witness miracles in your everyday life. You see how everything starts to come together effortlessly. There is a sense of ease, not because life is without struggles, but because you now understand that those struggles are part of a greater plan. Even when things do not go exactly as you envision, you have peace knowing that God is orchestrating something better behind the scenes. There is also a shift in your relationships when you are on the right path. People who no longer serve your purpose may drift away, and new people who align with your vision will enter your life. This is not always easy to accept. Letting go of certain friendships or relationships can be painful, but you begin to realize that not everyone is meant to walk with you in every season of your journey. Some people were only meant to be in your life for a short time to teach you lessons, and others are meant to stay and grow with you. When you are in alignment, you no longer cling to relationships out of fear or familiarity. Instead, you trust that God is bringing the right people into your life and removing the ones who are not meant to be there. You become more discerning about who you allow into your space. You no longer tolerate negativity, toxic energy, or people who drain you. You start surrounding yourself with individuals who uplift, inspire, and challenge you to become the best version of yourself. Another sign of alignment is an increase in favor. Things that once seemed difficult suddenly become easier. You start receiving opportunities that you did not even ask for. People begin to recognize your work, your talent, and your purpose. This does not mean that you will never have to work hard, but you will notice that things begin to flow with less resistance. You no longer have to fight and struggle to make things happen because God is making a way for you. What used to take years to accomplish starts happening in a fraction of the time. This is not because of your own strength, but because you are aligned with the timing and will of God. You also experience a deeper sense of gratitude. When you are in alignment, you become more aware of the blessings around you. You stop taking things for granted and start appreciating even the small moments. You see God's hand in every detail of your life, from the people you meet to the unexpected detours that turned out to be blessings in disguise. Gratitude shifts your perspective, making you more content and more at peace with where you are. You stop comparing your journey to others and instead focus on your own path, knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. One of the greatest signs of divine alignment is that you experience internal peace, even when external circumstances are not perfect. The world may be chaotic, but you remain steady because you know that you are walking in the right direction. You no longer feel the need to control everything because you trust that God is handling it. This peace is not something that can be explained logically. It is something you feel deep in your soul. It reassures you that you are on the right path, even if you do not yet see the full picture. When you are aligned with God's plan, you start to notice that your intuition becomes sharper. You can discern when something is right for you and when it is not. You no longer entertain things that do not align with your purpose. You become more selective about where you invest your time and energy. You stop chasing after things that do not fulfill you and start moving toward things that bring you joy, growth, and spiritual fulfillment. Most importantly, when you are on the right path, you experience an unshakable faith. You stop worrying about the future because you know that God is already there. You stop doubting yourself because you know that He has equipped you with everything you need for this journey. You stop seeking approval from others because you know that you are already approved by Him. You move forward with confidence, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. And even when the road ahead is unclear, you trust that God is leading you toward something greater than you could ever imagine.